Welcome back to Fast Market, everyone. Kevin Hinks back for our middle segment of the show. I'd like to welcome Randy Frederick back. He's the Managing Director of Trading Derivatives for Charles Schwab. And now we'd like to bring in our guest. He is the co-founder of LikeFolio.com, Mr. Landon Swan. And he's going to talk about a name that probably a lot of people haven't heard much about, Landon, but you guys at LikeFolio, you love this name, and the data backs up why you love this game. Landon, tell us what you know or what you feel about FuboTV.
Yeah, you know what? I hadn't heard of this company, maybe a year or two ago. I actually signed up to use them because I wanted to watch a game and I couldn't get it on Hulu, but they had it, so I signed up and stayed a member of Fubo. And so, a lot of people haven't heard of it, but it's kind of a new up and coming streaming service with a heavy focus on sports. And so you can, it's got a price point of $65 a month. So you can kind of think of it as a competitor with Dish because it offers so many channels. It doesn't have there's no installation, there's no hardware, there's no contracts or commitments. You just sign up on the internet. So it's a very simple way to get going. You can just get it on any Roku device. And then, if you kind of compare it to maybe like a Hulu, obviously it's much more expensive. It has a lot more channels, though, and I think that's a big focus. And of course, the sports, like I said, so they have a very, very sports-heavy focus. Which we talked last week about Penn and DraftKings. There is a huge influx of bettors. People are betting more than ever. It's becoming more socially acceptable, more legally acceptable, legalized in more and more states. And I think that they're ahead of the curve here on that. And when you look at how well they've done recently, on their last earnings report, they said that a year ago they lost a net 1,000 subscribers, and now they're gaining 90,000 subscribers. It's turning upwards really well. Their revenue tripled year over year. Their subscribers were up 138% year over year. So they are doing really well, and people are starting to pick up on it. And, one of the things that we always talk about, so if you look at their purchase intent chart, people talking about signing up with Fubo, one thing that we say a lot of times at LikeFolio is as purchase intent rises, it's very common to see happiness drop. It's just sort of a thing that we see with LikeFolio data all the time, but that's not the case with Fubo. Actually, their happiness is going up while their purchase intent is screaming. You can see here, purchase intent, that green line, that's the 90-day moving average of people saying, in effect, I signed up for Fubo. There's hundreds of ways that they sign it and leave that algorithm up to us, but that's people saying they signed up for it. So this is a very early signal. We've been bullish on them for quite a while, and the stock, as you can see, has been pretty flat. So we're either early or wrong. My money's on early, with the line going up in that direction. Pretty confident about Fubo doing well in the future. And they've got a lot of cool stuff coming out. So it's not just sports. It's an integration with sports and betting. And that's why I talked about Penn and DraftKings, because they're taking it to the next level where they've opened their own sports book. They're testing it out right now in Iowa, and they're going to have it on the screen. So if you think, I can remember back in college, Andy and I would be talking about, man, we're watching a game. I wish they would have the line right there on the screen, or a way to bet or something just right there on your phone or whatever it may be, so that you can have the game and the line going at the same time. And that's what they're doing. They're integrating that so that not only are they going to get the $65 a month per customer for the subscription, but they're also going to be turning bettors into extremely active and engaged bettors, where when you change the channel, the betting options change. Right? They have a partnership with NASCAR. They're the official, the official sports betting engine of NASCAR. So they're doing some really sharp things, and a big bet of it is on sports and sports betting. And we know those trends. As you guys have been watching the show, those trends are up and to the right. So they have a lot of tailwinds working for them.
Landon, this is fascinating because this is not a company that I was that familiar with either. Do they have any competitors out there? Is there anyone else out there doing what you just described, which sounds pretty interesting to me?
No, not really. So, I think the competitors are really substitutes. It's kind of the ESPN world, where it's, they're starting to talk about lines. Like, it used to be taboo to mention who was favored by how much, right, that kind of thing. At least ESPN can actually mention it now. But Fubo is going completely over the top. They're saying, you know what? We know people want to bet. That we know that they want the lines on the screen. They want to be able to integrate on their phone who you're betting on and all that. And you can see from this scatter plot where they're lining up. So again, to the right means adding subscribers or adding users, and they're way over there compared to the rest. And then up and down is happiness. So Hulu's got them on happiness. But you can see that they are just booming when it comes to purchase intent and people saying that they're subscribing. So, I would say that kind of Dish is a competitor, kind of ESPN is a competitor, but they're kind of going blue ocean here with this completely new strategy. And that's one of the reasons that we're so bullish is the combination of streaming with sports betting all in one package. It's really smart.
Yeah, Landon, we could do a double segment on this name because there's so many questions to ask. And what really jumped out at me when I was reading about this company was the ease in signing up versus your basic cable package and how simple it is and user-friendly. And that's got to be an enormous competitive advantage for a company like this because they just don't have the red tape. You don't have to sign anything. You just basically point and click and you're watching this. But Landon, your data and the consumer purchase intent data that you gave us is really quite alarming in how strong it is. But the question is, why hasn't the stock reacted? Why isn't it doing this? Or do you really think you guys are just early as I've seen a lot of your data over the years, and I've rarely seen a consumer purchase intent go so high without the stock at least following, somewhat.
Right. No, I completely agree. I want to answer that, but to your first point, signing up is ridiculously easy. In my example, I wanted to watch a football game that was starting in like 10 minutes, and it wasn't on Hulu, it wasn't on ESPN, and I was a little frustrated. So I just started looking around. I found Fubo, and I was streaming it before kickoff within 10 minutes, but that includes searching for this solution. So very easy to sign up. But yeah, I think we're early. Purchase intent is absolutely screaming, and obviously, LikeFolio data has been wrong in the past on some names. We're not 100% perfect, but generally speaking, we do pretty well because for whatever reason, people like to talk about what they're doing on social media, where they're spending their money, what they're signing up for, and we're just listening. And, we're pulling in about 9,000 tweets per second across all the companies that we listen for. And if you've got this kind of an increase, and it's kind of a small, unheard of name. So I think that this could be one of those surprise moves on earnings coming up. I think they've got earnings after the bell today. So this is one where obviously we're very bullish. And if they don't react on this earnings report, we're still going to be bullish because that purchase intent is just incredible. I mean, it's doubled in the last few months, and so most of that is in this quarter that's about to be reported. We talk about that earnings score that we always put out, -100 to +100. This is coming in at a +64. So very strong numbers coming in on earnings for LikeFolio data.
My next question would be this. Anytime someone's got something new and innovative, one of the biggest challenges, I think, for any new company in any business is how quickly can someone else go out there and copy what they're doing? Most companies that have had, for lack of a better term, and I'm not saying this falls into that category, that are kind of a one-trick pony. They've got a good idea, one product that's really neat and innovative. Before long, there's a bunch of competitors out there copying it and creating it at a cheaper price. And if no one has to crawl up on their roof and install a dish, and nobody has to come out and stick a cable in their attic somewhere, if it's that easy to sign up, to me, that also means it could be that easy to copy. Maybe I'm wrong. That's why I'm asking. This is not my perspective. It's just a question. How quickly or easily could someone else go out there and duplicate what they're doing? Just curious about that.
Sure. No, I think that's a great point, and especially if they are sort of a one-trick pony. I think they're more diversified than I'm selling right now. They have a lot of channels. I'd say their main competitor is Dish based on the number of channels, but based on the sports betting and the sports app, which you guys know I love, I'd say that that is a threat. I mean, I think that ESPN could decide to do that and completely, take the advantage away, but it's also a situation where these very large companies like Disney are going to be way more conservative when it comes to something that's still not completely socially acceptable as sports betting. So, integrating a sports book into ESPN and putting the betting options onto your phone as you're streaming it, that just seems like a large leap for a company that's fairly conservative like Disney. So I don't think they're threatened by that. Now, you talk about maybe a smaller company coming in and doing that. Well, that's what Fubo is. And so maybe somebody else can try to compete with them based, completely replicating what they're doing. But they're really getting out there. They're getting a lot of good contracts, like I mentioned, the NASCAR and others. So I think that they're positioned well as first mover. And I think that the big ones, the big competitors, are going to be a little bit hesitant to jump into this game just because of the, just because of the vibe around it, I guess, the social taboo of sports betting.
Makes sense.
Fascinating presentation. And it's got the feel, Landon, that we're getting some information before the stock actually reacts. And that's what LikeFolio does. You collect information and then hopefully give us information before the stock knows it. Landon Swan, co-founder of LikeFolio.com. Thank you so much for coming on, as always. Have a great day, sir.